And now joining us with more on the hate crimes in the United States, we have the head of the Israel desk and the director of communications at NGO Monitor, Itai Reuveni. Itai,
Hello.
Would you say that the media is covering all of this in the right way?
No, absolutely not. I think the media, for years, downplaying certain aspects of anti-Semitic incidents, whether it's just not interesting for them, whether it serves certain agendas. We saw it that in the rise of the anti-Semitism in the US campuses. We saw it in Europe, where dozens of anti-Semitic attacks just were ignored without any reporting.
Or they weren't even labeled as hate crimes. They were just
exactly.
Crimes.
And when you ask why the media is like this, so or it serves an agenda, or just they don't understand what is anti-Semitic or what is not.
Right.
We saw it in Sweden, in France, even in the US.
Which leads us to ask then, are we actually seeing a rise in anti-Semitic incidents? And if that is the case, if we are seeing a rise, and this isn't just an issue that has been happening and hasn't been covered, then why is this rise happening?
Yeah, absolutely there is a rise. If you take the physical aspect of the attacks, there is a rise from all the political spectrum, from extreme right, from extreme left, from extreme religious movements. We see rise in the rhetoric and on the things that are happening on the ground, the physical attacks. So I think the political world today is very polarized. Let's take, for example, the US. US for the last 8 years is a very polarized place. The discussion is very black and white. It's very or with us or without us, or against us, sorry. And I think when you look in the history, you see that in every polarized place, the Jews were one of the first targets, or the first communities to getting hurt. Look what's happened in the UK. In the UK, the elections were all about Brexit and anti-Semitism. Okay, in a huge country, in a world power, everything was about the Jews.
Right.
So I think, and when the political discourse is so polarized, and you put the Jews inside, this is how very fringe groups are perceive it.
So what would you say to critics who maybe have been blaming President Trump for the rise of the trend of anti-Semitism in the United States?
I think, first of all, when you look at such a political phenomenon, you need to look at it not from a certain point in time. The rise of anti-Semitism were before Trump and after Trump. Trump was a point where things became much more fractured and polarized inside the American, the U.S., the American society. Okay, not only about Israel, by the way, but other aspects also. It just reflects itself on Israel and on the Jews, and
Which then brings me to the next question. I mean, everyone's saying, all right, well, what is the government going to do? How are U.S. politicians going to fight back against the rise in anti-Semitism that we're seeing in the States? But should Israel be playing any role in combating this issue? What should Israel be doing, if anything? Of
course. I think Israel should lead the effort to combat anti-Semitism in all the ways. It's a phenomenon that, for me, for us, equal. It's not less important than fighting terrorism. Okay, it's frightening communities. It's hurting their lives. It's hurting. It's violent, and we need Israel should be leading those things.
The question is how, right? Well, thank you so much for joining us, Itai.
No problem. Thank you.